Today's lesson is on finding square roots. First, we're going to look at our vocabulary. A square root of a number is a number that when multiplied by itself equals the given number. Every positive number has a positive and a negative square root. A perfect square is a number with integers as its square roots. For our first example, we're finding square roots of a perfect square. Find the two square roots of 49. 7 times 7 equals 49, and negative 7 times negative 7 also equals 49. So the square roots of 49 are 7 and negative 7. The symbol you see is called a radical sign. It is used to represent a square root. The number under the radical sign is called the radicand. Now you'll see in a table, the first one is positive square root. You do not have to put a plus sign in front of the square root, in front of the radical sign, to indicate that you want a positive answer. So the square root of 16 equals 4. In the middle, you'll see negative square root. So you'd have a negative sign in front of the radical sign. And so this answer then would be negative 4. And if you want the answer to be both positive and negative, you'll put a plus and a minus sign in front of the radical sign, so that when you find the square root of 16, you will have plus or minus 4. So you'd have positive 4 and negative 4 for this answer. Now we have an additional example. You can either pause the video and try it on your own, or you may follow along. Find the two square roots of the number. For the first one, we have 36. We know that 6 times 6 equals 36, and negative 6 times negative 6 also equals 36. So our two square roots are 6 and negative 6. For number 2, we have 100. We know that 10 times 10 equals 100, and negative 10 times negative 10 also equals 100. So our two square roots are 10 and negative 10. And for number 3, we're trying to find the two square roots of 121. We know that 11 times 11 equals 121, and negative 11 times negative 11 also equals 121. So our two square roots are 11 and negative 11. Now for our second example, we're finding square roots. Find the square root or square roots. For A, we're wanting to find the square root of 25. Because 5 squared equals 25, to find the square root of 25, we're going to find the square root of 5 squared. And that answer would be 5, because 5 times 5 equals 25. Since we do not have any sort of sign in front of the radical sign, we know our answer is going to be positive. So our answer is just 5. For B, we have negative square root of 9/16. Since 3/4 squared equals 9/16, the negative square root of 9/16 would be the negative square root of 3/4 squared, which would then be negative 3/4. Basically, the square root of 9 is 3, and the square root of 16 is 4, and since we have a negative in front of our radical sign, our answer is negative, so negative 3/4. And for C, we have plus or minus the square root of 2 and 25/100ths. Because 1 and 5/10 squared equals 2 and 25/100ths, plus or minus the square root of 2 and 25/100ths would equal plus or minus the square root of 1 and 5/10 squared. So our answer would be 1 and 5/10 and negative 1 and 5/10. We want both the positive and negative square roots of this problem. Now we have an additional example. You can pause the video and try it on your own, or you may follow along. For number 4, we're finding the negative square root of 1. We know that 1 times 1 gives us 1. So we have the negative square root of 1 squared, because 1 times 1 equals 1. So then our answer would be negative 1. For number 5, we have plus or minus the square root of 4/25. So we have plus or minus the square root, and 4/25, the square root of 4 is 2. The square root of 25 is 5. So we have 2/5 times 2/5, and that would give us 4/25. So we have plus or minus the square root of 2/5 squared. So then the square root would just be 2/5. And we have plus or minus 2/5. So that means we'd have 2/5 and negative 2/5. And for number 6, we have the square root of 12 and 25/100ths. In order to get 12 and 25/100ths, the number that we'd multiply by itself would be 3 and 5/10, because 3 and 5/10 times 3 and 5/10 is 12 and 25/100ths. So we want to find the square root of 3 and 5/10 squared. And that answer would just be 3 and 5/10. Since there's no sign in front of a radical sign, our answer is positive. Now we have our third example. We're evaluating expressions involving square roots. So evaluate the expression. For A, we have 5 times the square root of 36 plus 7. We can simplify the square root of 36. The square root of 36 would be 6, because 6 times 6 equals 36. So we're going to have 5 times 6 and then plus 7. 5 times 6 is 30, and 30 plus 7 is 37. For B, we have 1/4 plus the square root of 18/2. So that would be 1/4 plus the square root of 9, because 18 divided by 2 is 9. The square root of 9 is equal to 3. So now we have 1/4 plus 3, and that would equal 3 and 1/4. Now we have an additional example. You can pause the video and try these examples on your own, or you may follow along. For number 7, we have 12 minus 3 times the square root of 25. So we're going to have 12 minus 3, and then the square root of 25 is 5, because 5 times 5 is 25. Now we're going to multiply 3 times 5 and get 15. So we have 12 minus 15, and 12 minus 15 is negative 3. For number 8, we're going to do the square root of 28/7 plus 2 and 4/10. 28/7 can simplify to 4, because 28 divided by 7 is 4. So we have the square root of 4 plus 2 and 4/10. The square root of 4 is 2, because 2 times 2 equals 4. So we have 2 plus 2 and 4/10. And 2 plus 2 and 4/10 is 4 and 4/10. And for number 9, we have 5 times the quantity, square root of 49 minus 10. So we're going to have 5 times the square root of 49 would be 7, because 7 times 7 equals 49. And then we have minus 10. 7 minus 10 is negative 3. So we have 5 times negative 3, which is negative 15. Don't forget to fill out your notes, and remember to watch the video again if needed.